Boker Tov. Today's daf is daf Kufnun Dalet above Basra, as we learn from Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael Asuna Batzar V'Shivya. The Mishnah had said, the Mishnah brought down. Let's review the Mishnah again from yesterday's daf. If they had a document now that the supposed shemira had given to the recipient, the donor and the recipient, and now a fight broke out, the donor survived, and he claims that he was a shemira at the time of the donation, the time that he gave it. And the recipient says, no, you were healthy. So we had a machlokus in our Mishnah. And the way our Mishnah reads is, the Rav Meir says, well, the shemira must prove that he was a shemira at the time of the donation. There's a document, this parv. It doesn't say whether he's a shemira or whether he's healthy. So Rav Meir says, the shemira must prove his case, must prove it, because we look at a situation right now. Right now, he's healthy. So he's got to prove that he was a shemira at the time. The Chum say no. The donor is the one who has the money or has the gift, and the recipient must prove his case. So we said yesterday how to understand the machlokas. And the machlokas is: do you look at? We said the Gemara says, do you look at the Rabbi Yaakov goes with the shita of the Chachamim, that Rabbi Yaakov says, well, he's the muhsik in the money, the shemira, or the supposed, we'll call him the shemira, the supposed shemira, he's a muhsik, mechbel varaya. Whereas Rav Nassan says, no, you look at a situation right now. If he's healthy right now, we assume he was healthy then, and he has to prove his case. And the Gemara then said, no, both of them said they have to bring a raya, meaning according to Meir, the shemira, the donor must bring a proof. It says raya, our Mishnah said, and according to the Chachamim, the recipient must bring a raya. What kind of a raya are we talking about? That's what our Gemara is dealing with right now. From the top of the page, raya b'mai. What proof are we talking about? Rav Huna Amar, raya v'edim. Both of them have to bring a proof with edim. If you hold the recipient has to bring proof, he has to bring a proof that the donation was given when the donor was a shemira. And according to the Chachamim, no, the recipient must the recipient must prove. Meaning, rather, according to Meir, the donor has to bring a proof that he was a shemira at the time, and according to Meir, the recipient must bring the proof. But both of them with Eidim. Rav Chisda, Rav Huna, these two rabbis hold Amri Raya B'Kiyam Mashtar. Now listen carefully. What do we mean by Raya B'Kiyam Mashtar? The shtar, this is going to be a shtar that we have. When you have a shtar and there's Eidim signed on it, do you assume it's okay? You assume normally it's okay. 2 Eidim written on it, no problem. Unless the lova claims, unless the person who wrote the shtar or who admitted that he's the obligatory person of the shtar, whether it's a seller or whether it's a borrower, and he admits that the shtar was written legitimately, or he admits that the shtar is not, let's say, not forged, do you still have to bring proof? Do you have to bring Adam to testify to ratify the shtar? So if Chisda says no, the rayas became a shtar, meaning that the recipient, not in terms of a mayor holds that the document way it reads is in favor of the recipient, right? The document says that the donor gave it to the recipient. So the document is in favor of the recipient unless it can be proven otherwise. So according to the Chachamim who say that the Chachamim say that the recipient must bring proof. What proof are we talking about? Proving that the shtar is legitimate, proving that the Adam signed on the shtar recipient, they're attesting to the shtar. Whereas according to Rav Meir, who says that the document is in favor of the recipient, and now the donor must bring proof. Well, he can't bring proof to the shtar because the shtar says that he can't just prove that the shtar is written legitimately because the shtar is in favor of the recipient. If we're saying like that, Rav Meir says that the donor must bring proof, he has to bring proof with Adam anyway, even according to this shita. In other words, the document says that the donor gave it to the recipient, right? The Chachamim say, if the recipient wants to get it, he must bring proof that the donor was healthy at the time. So that proof is, you could say that proof is best proof that the shtar is legitimate. So if the shtar is legitimate, the way it looks, reads, it's parv, he can get it. But according to Meir, who says that the donor must bring proof that he was not healthy at the time, that it was a shemira, that has to be Adam. That's not the shtar. Testing to the shtar, the way it reads this is in favor of the recipient. So again, back in the Gemara, the second line. Rav Huna Amar Rai became a star. Rav Huna Amar Rai B'Edim. What's the machlokes? Gemiflagi put to Rabbi Yaakov Rav Nassan. Same machlokes we had yesterday. Rav Meir Savak Rav Nassan. Rav Meir holds like Rav Nassan that what? You look at the current situation right now. The guy is healthy. You assume he was healthy before. Therefore, Rav Meir says if the donor wants to get out of it and say he was not healthy, he has to bring proof otherwise because you look at a situation right now. Rabbanan goes like Rabbi Yaakov. They say no. Keep the money where it is. Right now, the money is with the donor. If the recipient wants to get it, he must bring proof that the donor was healthy at the time of the gift. Rav Chisda Rav Huna Amar Raya became a star. What's the machlokas? What's Raya became a star? But motive star shakasvu tzarich l'kaimo. Do you, if the person who is obligated by the star, whether it's a seller to the buyer or a borrower to the creditor, if he admits that the star was written legitimately, that it's not forged, it's a good star, except he says some other excuse. For example, he says that maybe the Adam said, yeah, we admit that we wrote it, but we weren't kosher at the time, we were ktanim, or we were pasalaidis, or the person who owes the money says, I wrote the star, but I was just doing it as a favor to him to make him look wealthy, or because I gave him credit, I figured, okay, I'll give him the star now, he'll pay me later on. If he's moded to that, do you still need Adam to be Mekayim to ratify the star? So that's the machlokas here. But listen, the star is there. The star is in favor of the recipient. So he says, listen, the recipient gets to keep it unless the donor can prove that he was a shchimera at the time of the gift. No. Rabbanan say, even though you're moded that is written, you still can demand that it be ratified. So even though you're moded in this case, in our Mishnah, the donor admits that the star was there. He admits that he wrote the star, right? He admits that it's there, except he says, I was a shchimimra. Okay, so he says, you still have to ratify it and prove it. And therefore, it's a Mosim Mechaber override according to Rabbanan. Says the Gemara. So according to the Shita of Rav Chis and Rav Huna, that's the machlokes on a Mishnah. So what do we need the machlokes on a Mishnah? Whether motiv shashakasu sarch l'kaimo or not? In other words, Rav Meir says, ain't sarch l'kaimo. It's in the recipient's favor. He gets to keep unless the donor can prove with Adam that he was shchemer at the time of the donation. And the Rabbanan say, motiv shashakasu sarch l'kaimo. The fact that the fact that the donor admits that the star was written doesn't prove that the case is the way it is. You still need Adam to say what took place and Adam to verify it, to ratify it. Says Gemara, we already had this machlokes before the Tanya. Two Adam come along and say, yes, we wrote the star, but we were puzzled at the time. We were, we were gamblers, or we were ktanim or whatever. Meir says, no, but if you're motive that the star was written, you don't have to be mekayim. You don't have to prove anything. They can't deny the star. They can't disqualify the star by saying they were no good. If the star was there, you assume it's okay. But they are believed. So we see this machlok, they are believed to pasal, meaning you have to ratify it. So we have this machlokas before. If you tell me that case over there, come Rabbanan there, because the Edom are strong enough, they're strong enough to impair the star, because it's two Edom. Two Edom say, yeah, we signed on the star, it was valid, but we were puzzled at the time, or it was what they call a star, or the Lova might claim that it was paid. Yeah, we signed on it, but it was paid or whatever, or it was a star amana, a star that was just given like in trust. I give you the star that I'm selling it to you, but you still owe me the money later on. So that doesn't prove anything. So he says there the Edom can impair it because it's two Edom. But here it's just one guy. He's saying, I was a shchemira at the time. There maybe the Rabbanan there would be, maybe the Rabbanan would be moted to Rameir. If you tell me this case of Rameir, here Rameir says one person can't passel the shtar, that one person that one person can say that you don't need, that as one person alone cannot ruin the shtar. If he's moted that it was written, you can't ruin it by saying, something was wrong with it. I was a shchimera, whatever. But in the other case where two Adam say that even though we signed on it, we were no good. Maybe Rabbanan that they could impair the star. So you need both cases. Okay. Rabba also agrees with the first shita of what? Rav Huna. He agrees with Rav Huna that the proof we're talking about in our Mishnah on both ends, both Rav Meir, who says that the donor must bring proof, and the Chachamim who say that the donee must be given proof, must bring proof, means with Adam. I'm only Abaye. So Abaye says, my timer. Why did the Rabbanan say that Amos Mechaber al Varaya, that he has to bring proof, right? That they have to bring proof to take it away from the donor, right? If the recipient wants to keep it, he must bring proof that the donor was healthy at the time. Why do you say midakulu ksibu kat havimalach? Why do you say that the donee must bring proof? Why? Because it's obvious. There's an indication that the donor was really a shchimir at the time. Why? Is it because most shtaros that are written as a donation or as a sale, whatever, it says that the donor or the seller at the time of the sale was walking on his feet. He was walking on the street in the Shekmini, he was healthy. And in this star, it didn't say anything. We said in our mission, the star is parv. It doesn't say whether he was healthy or not. Since it didn't say when he was healthy, there's a reason to indicate that he wasn't healthy. Therefore, it's probably it seems to indicate that he was a shchimera, and therefore the donee must bring proof that the donor was healthy at the time. Adarabba, say look at the other way. Since most stars that are written by a shchimera or written on behalf of shchimera say kad katsir when he was sick, Rami Barsi and sick and laying in bed, and he gave the gift indicating he was a shchimera. And this star doesn't say that. Again, the star is parv shmamina bariavi. Maybe he's buried. So again, why do you say that the donee must bring proof? Why? Because the star indicates it was a shchimera. Just the opposite. The star can indicate it was a bari. So Rabbi answered, right? So Abai said this to Rabbi. So Rabbi answered, no, you can say either way. The star is part. The star doesn't show one way or another, whether he was healthy or not. So therefore, ukiman b'chaskes mari, leave the money where it is, right? That's the idea of Rabbi Yaakov, and that's what we're saying. At this point, our Gemara was saying that the Chacham go like him, leave the money where it is. Leave the money where it is, and therefore the donee must bring proof. It's a mosim mechaber al haraya. Uber plukta this machlokas, whether you have to, the proof is with Adam on both ends, both Rameh and the Chachamim, or according to the Chachamim say that that he must bring proof that it's that the donee must bring proof. Rav Huna, who was it? Rav Chissa and Rabba Bar Huna. I guess Rabba Bar Huna argues with his father Rav Huna. He says that it must be just bring proof just by attesting, bringing proof that the star is valid. This machlokas, whether it's Brayv Adam or B'kiyum Shtar by attesting to the ratifying the star, is the same machlokas with Rabbi Yochanan Mishlakish. We plucked it. Rabbi Yochanan Brayv Adam. So again, everybody agrees that Rav Meir, who says that the donor must bring proof, obviously that proof is with Adam, because the star is in favor. The star, the way it's written, is in favor of the donee, right? The star says that the donor gave it to the donee. So proving that the star is valid, that would be a raya to that would be a proof to the way the Chachamim learned that the donee must bring proof that the star is valid. But according to Meir, that we assume the star is okay, and the donor must bring proof that he was not healthy at the time. That certainly has to be beidim, because the star, the way it's written, is in favor of the donee. It's Rabbi Yochanan Shakish. Now Rabbi Yochanan has a kasha on Mishlakish. You say that the proof is kiyum star, attesting, ratifying the star. There was a story like this. Ma'asav of Bnei Brak. There was a story in Bnei Brak. What does Rashi tell you? Bnei Brak Makom. It was a place. Wasn't so obvious, huh? Wasn't so obvious, right? You didn't know.
He didn't have Agoda?
He didn't have Agoda, right? Interesting, right? Ma'asav of Bnei Brak. Be'echad shemachar b'nechsev. If Rashi was writing it, I don't know if he would say Makom. Ma'asav, right? Ma'asav of Bnei Brak. Be'echad shemachar b'nechsev.
In other places,
yeah,
it was Ma'asav b'nei something.
Yeah,
it was a person.
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe.
So maybe you want to. No, we're talking about the place.
Yeah, maybe could be. Yeah. So there's a story in Bnei Brak. Good point. It was Bnei Barak, maybe. Huh? You shouldn't think it's Bnei Barak. Anyway, story in Bnei Brak. A man sold his father's house. His father's field. Umeis. Then this guy died. The guy who sold it died. Okay. The family said, right? So what do you have here? you have a seller and a recipient. The seller died, right? And the recipient says, okay, I got a star here. Comes along the family of the deceased, the one who sold the property, and protested, saying, Lomer Katnaya, the sale was invalid. Our young kid brother sold it. He had no right to sell it. He was 10 years old. He's it's invalid. The whole sale was invalid, right? Bishas Misa, right? When he died, he was still a cut. In other words, he died as Rahman he died as a 10-year-old. So he couldn't have written it, when he was a gadol. You don't go backwards in years, you go up, right? So if he was 10 when he died, it couldn't be about. They asked Rabbi Akiva, who lived in Bnei Brak, right? Lived in Bnei Brak. They asked Rabbi Akiva, right? He was the local authority, right? Ma'u lebodko. Can we exhume the body? Can we exhume the body to see if he was a child when he wrote it, a little child? So Rabbi Akiva said, you may not disgrace the body. You're not allowed to do that, to disgrace the body by uprooting him. But even if you would, can't tell from this motor. What do you want to see? That the kid's had no puberty or anything like that. You can't tell from that. They could have changed after it died. Maybe he had pubic hair and it fell off after he died, etc. Can't pardon? Right, but there's no proof. That's not a solid proof. You're not going to assume the body and prove from there whether he was 12 and a half or 13. Not going to be a proof. That's when he answered it. Now, that was the story. So Rabbi Yochanan said to Rish Lakish, Bishloma Lididi, I who say Damina Rai Ba'edim, what's the proof? What's the proof that the recipient has to bring proof? In other words, the recipient we're talking about in our Mishnah, where there was a donor and a recipient, and there was a debate between them. Was he healthy at the time of the donation, and therefore the sale is valid? Or was he a shchimira and the sale is invalid? Or the donation, it'd be in the case of the Mishnah. So Bishlam Medidi says Rabbi Yochanan Damina Rai Ba'edim. So Kivin Amru Lakucho, since the family of the deceased told the purchasers, Isu Adam, bring proof. You want to prove that that the kid was a gadol at the time, right? We're saying that when he sold it to you, he was a child. It was invalid. You're saying no, he was an adult. So bring proof that he was an adult. Do you have any witnesses? They told us Isu Adam. They couldn't find Adam to the sale. So Hainu the Ka'asuv Amrle. So they couldn't bring Adam. So Amrle Malabotko. So I can understand what happened. The buyers were told go bring proof. They couldn't bring proof. They couldn't find any witnesses to the sale that he was an adult at the time. So they then said to the rabbi, to Rabbi Akiva, can we exhume the body to see if he was an adult? Right? They can understand that. But according to you, Rish Lakish, the Amrit Raya became a star, that the right, all they have to bring as proof is by establishing the star. What do they have to exhume the body? Like Kaim Star, let them just bring proof that the Adam. How do you Makayim a star? Not by testifying. We're not testifying that the sale, just being proof that these are valid witnesses, that the star looks kosher. Like Kaim Star, do you have records of these witnesses that their signatures are the same, or two other witnesses who could say, yeah, we recognize those signatures as being kosher Adam? And therefore then they could seize the property. So this was the question Rabbi Yochanan asked Rish Lakish. According to me, I say that the proof is with Adam. So he told them, bring Adam. They couldn't bring Adam, so they said, can we exhume the body? So Rabbi Akiva answered, no, you can't. Fine. But according to you, who say that the proof that they have to bring, the proof that the donee, or in this case, the buyer, has to bring proof is simply attesting to the star. Why can't they bring proof to let them prove that? Let them bring proof let them bring Adam, or let them ratify the star in the normal way that you ratify a star. Either two Adam themselves come and say we recognize our signatures, or two other people come in and take the nechasim that way. What's this whole business about exhuming the body? Says Rish Lakish says you've got the case reversed. You've got the case reversed. Kami, you think that the asset right now, the sale, the house or the property, let's say the field, is in the possession of the family, and they're telling the buyers, you bring proof that he was an adult, that the kid who sold you was an adult at the time, and the purchasers coming and they're protesting Ma'are. No, Nichse Becheskes Lekuchos Kami. What happened was the buyers had taken possession of the field already. They had taken possession of the field. And the family came to protest for Kumari. And therefore, that in that case, so the star, the way it's written, ratifying the star is not going to help them. The star says that the goes to the buyers, right? That's not going to help them. So they had to bring proof. They had to bring Adam. They're complaining. And therefore they're saying, and they had to bring proof that he was a child at the time. They couldn't find witnesses to that. So they asked Rabbi Kiva, can we exhume the body to show that he was a child? It's mustaver that way, that again, it's the family who's asking to exhume the body. Since Rabbi Kiva said, you cannot disgrace the body by exhuming it. When they were quiet, they said, fine. They didn't answer that. You can't do that. Yeah, if it's the family who's protesting, saying, hey, we want our field back. Our little brother who sold it to you, he was a kid at the time and he died as a kid, right? So it makes sense that if you say, it says that when they asked Rabbi Kiva, could we exhume the body? And they said, they were quiet because Rabbi Kiva says you can't dishonor your family member, Eliyamr, and therefore you should keep quiet. You can't protest with that. Eliyamr lekuchos kamar. If the purchasers they were protesting, Amai Shasky, why were they quiet? We're not talking about disfiguring the dead body, or we call them the tuche mason, or doing autopsies and etc. like that. We're just talking about looking at the body. If you're saying that the purchasers were protesting, saying, hey, we want our field, Amai Shasky, why were they quiet? Limberlake could say, listen, we paid for this. We don't care if he's disgraced or dishonored. We're not talking about disfiguring the body. We're just talking about disgracing the body by opening it up again, dishonoring the body. It says we paid for it. He doesn't want to give us our field. We don't care if the family's dishonored. So therefore, it makes sense to say that it was the family who asked to exhume the body. Gemara says no. That's not a proof from there. Maybe Rabbi Kiva said, listen, number one, you aren't permitted to dishonor the body. And even if you say you're entitled to dishonor the body because you paid for the field, and they're coming out with a claim and saying, you can't do, the kid was a kid when he sold it to you, and you say and you'll say Zuzi Shakel and we pay for it. We don't care if he's dishonored. It's simanim that can be changed after death. Therefore, it wouldn't help you. Even if you want to dishonor the body and you're entitled to dishonor the body because you paid for it, you still these are simanim that change after death. And therefore, you can't prove anything from there. So you can't prove it from there, but that would be his argument. Now we reverse things. Tashma, or he takes out Tashma, but Shal Rab Shimon Lakish is Rabbi Yochanan. Rab Shimon Lakish is trying to ask Kasha Rabbi Yochanan. Again, Rabbi Yochanan says the roof is with Adam. It was with Adam because being Mekayim the star, not enough. You need Adam. Being Mekayim star doesn't do it, right? Because Marub Shashkasu ain't Tzarch L'Kaimo. According to, we said according to Rabbanan, Marub Shashkasu ain't Tzarch L'Kaimo. That would be the machlokes the way Rabba Bar Rav Huna and Rav Chisda learned that the machlokes is in Marub Shashkasu ain't Tzarch L'Kaimo or not. Whereas according to Rav Huna and Rabba also, he has to bring proof with Adam. It's not enough just to say that the Mekayim the star, and that's not enough. That's not good enough proof. So now we reverse the tables. Rish Lakish asks Kashan Rabbi Yochanan. Says we have a case brought down in the Mishnah of Bar Kapara. There was a man Ruvain. He was on the field. He was working the field. It's like he came along. It's like the field is his. Come along, another guy, Shimon, says, well, it's not your field, it's my field. What happened? So Ruvain pulled out his deed. Yeah, it was your field once, but you sold it to me, right? You gave it to me. Here's the deed. If Shimon says, I don't recognize that star, then you could be Mekayim it by bringing proof. Go ratify the star by bringing proof that the Adam that signed on it looked legitimate. Imam star pasim or star amana. He says, listen, I agree that I wrote the star, but it was a star pasim. Pasim is like a pacification, meaning, could you do me a favor? Give me a bill of sale that looks like I bought fields. So this way I can go to the bank and say, look at all these fields that I own. Get a mortgage, I'll get more, I can borrow more money, or it makes me look rich. So, but you didn't really sell it to me. Oh, star mana, or it was a bill of sale, but I never paid for it yet. In other words, if the seller, Shimon, says, no, I just gave you a star just to make you look rich, or I gave it to you on, like on consignment that you're going to pay me for it, right? Shemacharti l'cha, like a star mana, like it looks as if I sold to you, but you never paid for it. So what are you doing? If you have Adam, you look at the Adam. What do the Adam say? Was it a good sale or not? If not, you look at the star, meaning you look at the star. If the star says it was a sale, it was a valid sale. So according to this, so Rish Lakish says, what do you see over here? That the star is good enough. In other words, your motive that the star was written. You wrote the star. You just claimed that it wasn't really it wasn't written. It wasn't. You don't say it was forged. Your motive that was written. You just say it was a star possum, or I gave it to you, assuming that you'd pay for it. Pardon?
Is this suggesting that Adam comes first?
No. If you can prove it.
The other?
Yeah, no. He says if you can prove Adam, go with Adam. If not, you look at the star. The star is good enough. In other words, Reuven can claim it based simply on the star. The star.
Then why does he have to look for Adam first?
No. If you can, better if you can get Adam. If you can get Adam, that's you look at the Adam say. No, if you can get Adam, no, Adam is always, there's nothing stronger than Adam. Im lav, if not, look at the star. The star is good enough, which means modu b'shtar shekosvu ain't sarach l'kaimo. According to you, that's a sheet of Meir. Lamer of Meiri, the Amar modu b'shtar shekosvu ain't sarach l'kaimo below Rabbanan. In other words, according to the Rabbanan, according to you, Rabbi Yochanan, that's not good enough. It's not good enough to say, look at the star. My star isn't good enough. You need Adam, right? According to, we just said, Rabbi Yochanan holds like Rabbah, who holds like Rav Huna, that the machlokus on our Mishnah is what's the proof in our Mishnah? You have to bring Adam. Not good enough to bring a star. Not enough to bring proof of the star. When the Rabbanan say the Doni has to bring Adam. Not good enough to be Mekayim the star. So according to me, so Lamer of Meiri, ain't Sarach L'Kaim over Lo Rabbanan, because according to Rabbanan, the way you, Rabbi Yochanan, learn, that's not good enough. You need Adam. So since you say that, and this Stam Mishnah of Bar Kapara, presumably would you say it's going to a Meir, not according to Rabbanan? So Rabbi Yochanan answered them, Lo. In this case, I agree with you that everybody agrees that Rabbi Shashakoswa ain't Sarach L'Kaimo. I've a miflik plige, but there's a machlokus about that. What do you mean everybody's moda? Rabbi Shashakoswa ain't Sarach L'Kaimo. The mission we had in Amar Aleph. Einam on a poso. Adam are not believed to apostle the star by saying, yeah, we signed on it, but we weren't kosher. Diver of Meir. Einam apostle. In other words, if moda Shashakoswa, that's good enough. They can't apostle it. They are believed to apostle it, meaning so how could you say everybody agrees? Rabbi Yochanan answered, no, Amalei, Adam are strong enough, as we said, Umar B'Shtar, they can impair the star by saying, yeah, we signed on it, but we weren't kosher at the time. EU call community, can one person be believed? Here we're talking about one person against one person. Can he say, can Shimon say now, there's a star that Shimon sold it to Reuven or gave it to Reuven. Can Shimon say now, no, it wasn't really, it was only a star amon or a star possum wasn't it? Is he believed to apostle it? In this case, Marav Shashakosvu ain't Sarach L'Kaimo. In other words, Rabbi Yochanan says, where do we say that Marav Shashakosvu Sarach L'Kaimo if it's two Adam are ruining the star, two Adam are impairing the star? Then it's not good enough that they're moda. They can impair the star, as we said. If Chum and none they believe to apostle it, you have to prove that the star is valid, right? Two people come along and say we signed on it but wasn't valid. You must bring proof from somewhere else. Modav Shashkasu Tzarach L'Kaimo. But in this case, where it's one person, just the Balvin, Shimon is claiming Reuven. Modav Shashkasu ain't Tzarach L'Kaimo. If he's modav, that's good enough. In other words, if you get Adam, like you say, Adam is better. But if you don't have Adam, Modav Shashkasu ain't Tzarach L'Kaimo. Is Shimon believed to ruin it? No. If he's motive that it was written, if he say it's forged, it's not a document at all. The whole thing was a forgery. That's one thing. But if he admits that he wrote it, except there were difficult circumstances, he was a shchimera, it was a shtar pasim, whatever it was, or wherever it was, the Edom weren't 100% kosher, whatever, that he's not believed to pass. Amar lei. So Rish Lakish said to Rabbi Yochanan, what do you mean? I heard in your name that the protest of the family was good, even though the shtar over there in the case of the kid who died after he sold the field, the shtar is in favor of the recipients. And yet you say, I heard in your name that the complaint of the family is valid, even though it goes against the shtar. The shtar is what it's there. It's not Adam. It's one person against one person. The recipients say the buyers say we have a shtar. The seller said, well, I don't know if the shtar is good, right? You're saying now that if it's one person, that ain't tzarich l'kaimo. But what do you mean? You said that their complaint is a good complaint, indicating that it's not unless the buyer can bring proof with Adam, not good enough to say the shtar itself is not good enough, meaning that they could impair, even one person can impair the shtar. Amrlei zu Elazar Amra. My student Elazar said that. Ani lo amarti. I never said that. I hold that if it's one person, in other words, the bar plukta, the other litigant said, I impairing the shtar, wasn't valid, he can't do anything against it. The thing is valid. So you said that he could do something in the case of the yasom, in the case of the not the yasom, the child ruining the shtar, and you said that the people have a valid complaint, even though it's just like one against one. He says, "Ani lo marti zemelim." I never said. Elazar said that the family had a good complaint. I never said that. Amar Rav Zera. So Rav Zera says, I don't understand Rabbi Yochanan over here. Im yachbar Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Elazar Talmido. Maybe Rabbi Yochanan will contradict or deny his Talmud Rabbi Elazar, because you're saying now Rabbi Yochanan admits to Rish Lakish that if it's just the litigant saying impairing the shtar, right, that it's not that the motor b'sheshkaso ain't tzarich l'kaimo, that he can't, the shtar is valid if it's just a litigant. And Elazar, who said that it is that you could impair the shtar, is a student. Is he going to? Okay, he can contradict the student. Rabbi Yochanan's Rebbe was Rav Yanai. We have that in many places. Yeah, is he going to deny? Is he going to contradict his Rebbe? Rabbi Yanai said, Rabbi Yanai, Amar Rebbe, Moda b'shtar shekosfu sarach l'kaimo. Right? If you're moda in the shtar that it was written, you have to be mekayim it. Meaning, just the fact that the seller, if it's a sale, or the borrower, in the case of a borrower, admits that the shtar was good, you still have to. You can't say in tzarich l'kaimo. You still have to be mekayim it. So here you see that Rabbi Yanai, but Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, Rebbe lo mishnah seinui. It's a mishnah. B'cham Amar motzi mechavero olav araya. Ein raya ela b'kiyum hashtar. Right? You have to be mekayim the shtar, meaning that if in our Mishnah says that when there's a fight between the donor and the recipient, what happens? The donor said, I was a shchimera. The recipient says, no, you were healthy. The recipient has to bring proof. How would he bring proof? By being mekayim the shtar, by attesting to the shtar, by bringing proof, validating, ratifying that the shtar was good. You say that's good. So you see over here, Rabbi Yochanan also agrees with his Rebbe. He's not going to deny his Rebbe, and his Rebbe says he's self mekaymo. So therefore, we're stuck. How are you going to answer this whole case with Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish? Rabbi Yochanan says ain't sarach l'kaimo, and here he says sarach l'kaimo. Baram, so Rav Zera goes on to say, listen, now he's going to change around the whole Gemara. Near and divrei Rabbi Yosef. I agree with the words of Rabbi Yosef. The Amar Rabbeinu Yosef. Amar Rabbeinu Shmuel. Shmuel says this. Zu divrei Chachamim. These are the words of the Chachamim. He switches around the Chacham and Rav Meir. These are the words of what? Of a Chachamim who say the Motor Shashikasu ain't Sarach Lekaimo. Rav Meir Omer Motor Shashikasu Sarach Lekaimo. In other words, Rav Meir he's turning around our Mishnah. The Chachamim say that what? That you can Motor Shashikasu ain't Sarach Lekaimo, that the Adam cannot invalidate the shtar. Rav Meir says Motor Shashikasu Sarach Lekaimo. Umay Divrei Hakol. What does he mean when he said Divrei Hakol? Tosfos takes out this whole says the whole last piece wasn't valid because of this. But the way Rashbam learns, my Divrei Hakol. What do we mean when he said everybody agrees over here that Moda b'shtar shekasu ain't sarach l'kaimo? means the Rabbanan. Why? Because the Gabi Rav Meir, Divrei HaKol, the Rabbanan, the Gabi Rav Meir, it's like everybody. Rav Meir is discounted against the Rabbanan. Our Mishnah said the other way around. Mishnah says, not that Rav Meir says, you have to bring proof. The Chachamim say you don't have to bring proof. And the Chachamim say no, even though in this case the Shemira, supposed Shemira says the motive that the shtar was written, but you could still say he still has to bring proof. Our Mishnah says the Chachamim say that, not Rav Meir says that. You're saying now that according to Rabbi Yochanan learns that the Chachamim say motive shashakasu ain't sarch lekaimo, even though that goes against apparently his Rebbe Rav Yanai. You take that away, even though he against Rav Rebbe, that's what he holds. But our Mishnah says also that the Chachamim say must overraya, meaning you have to bring a proof, you have to ratify. You can't say that you just believe the shtar. It says April, we turn it around. We said Rav Meir says it must overraya. I have a Tanya ain't a money posted for him. In the standard case, when we had in Ksubas, where case we quoted up above and on Aleph, the Chachamim, if Adam come along and say, yeah, we signed on the shtar, but we were puzzled, right? We learned ain't a money posted. Rav Meir says you can't possibly because Madhu Shashkasu ain't so. Chachamim says no matter they are believe. April will turn that around also. So this is really he's switching all the sheets. He's switching Chacham and Rav Meir. He's switching it all around. I have Rabbi Yochanan Raya Be'edim Kamar. Rabbi Yochanan himself said Anamar Aleph Raya Be'edim. Right, that's what we said. Rav Huna said Raya Be'edim. Rabba said Raya Be'edim, and then we said the same thing with Plukta. Rabbi Yochanan Raya Be'edim. Right, Raya Be'edim Kamar. April will switch that around also. Resh Lakish says Raya Be'edim, and Rabbi Yochanan says Raya became Mashtar. So Lema Lepoch Nami Tiyufta. So the kasha that we said, we said on at the bottom of an Aleph, that Rabbi Yochanan asked the kasha from the case of the child, the supposed child who sold the property, and the family came along and said, no, it wasn't a good sale to sell. Are you going to switch that around also and say that now it's not Rabbi Yochanan asking Rish Lakish, but it's Rish Lakish asking Rabbi Yochanan? Says no, it's really Rabbi Yochanan. But Hachikam, this is how you explain it, the top of Kuf Nen Hey. Hachikam Le, Rabbi Yochanan, this is Rabbi Yochanan says Rish Lakish. Bishlam Didi, I who hold the Amayna Raya became a star. All you need is proof of ratifying the star, not Raya Be'edim. Raya became a star. It makes sense that I understand how the purchasers seize the property. Why? Because either they ratified the star, they had Adam that signed the star, or they just said, look at the star the way it is. We have the star, so we took the property. Rashbam says either they brought proof to it or not. Rashbam says, right, even the moda b'nei mishpacha b'shtashikos. They said, yeah, it's written. So no, so ain't tzarich l'kaimo. Or maybe they were makayim the star. Or even if they weren't, since the family was moda b'shtashikasu, ain't tzarich l'kaimo. Right, you can understand that. So he said like this: Bishlam midita amin Raya became a star. So the purchasers brought proof or ratified the star, or you hold when they said that you can't deny it. You can't deny it. In other words, you can't exhume the body, etc. So maybe they were Mekayim the star. Rashbam says, oh, afilu lo kaimo. Even if they weren't Mekayim the star, keeping the motive by mishpacha b'shtar shekasvu, no saying b'shtar shekasvu, no saying ain't tzarich l'kaim v'chsigul kosmos. I understand how they got the nechasim because they were Mekayim the star el lidach. But according to you, the Amrit Raya Be'edim again. Now we're saying Rabbi Yochanan is asking Rish Lakish because we're switching around the shitas. We're saying that Rish Lakish says Raya Be'edim and Rabbi Yochanan says Raya became a star. How do the Kuchas get the nechasim? They didn't have any Edim there on Malay. So how do you understand this case? In other words, Rabbi Yochanan still asks Rish Lakish. I understand, according to me, the way we came out, that the Lekuchos seized the property. I understand the Lekuchos seized the property because they ratified the star. But according to you, that says the Raya is with Adam. How do they ever seize the property? I admit to you, in the case where the family was protesting, the Lavir, it's really it's a weak protestation. And in a case like that, they don't really have a claim. Ma'akamar, what do they say? Katnaya. We have a chazak, we have presumption. Usually we have a klal that the litigants, all the people involved in the shtar whether it's the seller, the buyer, etc., they are considered go. The no sin Makabel Rashbam says Ve'edim Kulim Gedolim M'Ksherim, and therefore that's how they say. So in this case, we admit that the purchasers had a claim, even though normally they need Edom, but the protestation of the family was so weak. Say he was caught in such a weak protest that it doesn't mean anything, and therefore they were able to seize the property. The only thing that the family could have said is, let's exhume the body. So he said, exhuming the body won't help you. Number one, it's not nice. It's disgraceful for you to do it to your family member. And number two, it won't help anyway because the simon could change. Now, Rashbam says over here, exactly halfway down in Rashbam, Umaskana Deshmaita. I'm reading Rashbam, Divrei Masal Nasa Gadol, and then there's a little period there, and this is really like a Rashbam to itself. That's the rule. Shmuel said that on Amid Beis, 6 lines from the bottom page. It was Rabbi Yonah Shmuel. The Chachamim say what? That the donor, in the case of the Shchimera, must prove that he was a Shchimera of Rav Meir Omer, even though the donor admits that the shtar was written, but the donee must bring proof. Must ratify the shtar. So Shmuel holds that too. Right? That say that Ein Sarach L'Kaimo. In other words, if you motor b'shtar shekasvu, that's good enough. Or Meir says motor sarach l'kaimo. The Chum say no, motor shekasu Ein Sarach L'Kaimo, meaning that if the donee has the shtar, he doesn't even mekayim it. It's up to the donor to prove that he was a shchimira. That's how Rashbam learns that Ein Sarach L'Kaimo could Shmuel Rabbi Yochanan lo shnehechad the iu morale the shtar. No matter if it's simply one of the litigant try to impair the shtar, the Meimer shtar pasamay, that it wasn't a real shtar, it was just I just gave it to you to make you look rich, o shtar mon, or I gave it to you assuming you would pay me. Lo shneichad Edom are, whether Edom, lomer anusimay, where they say we were forced, the Edom say, yeah, we signed on it, but we were forced, or we were children, or hainu da'abchinanami ahacha lahidik subas, because we've switched it around. So Rashbam learns that's how we come out. The Rabbi Yochanan holds Mar b'shasha gasu Ein Sarach L'Kaimo, and Ein Sarach L'Kaimo, and that's the sheet of the Chachamim against Rav Meir. However, almost all the other Rishonim, he says here, Rashbam mashma shenak alacha ki pucho shel Rav Yochanan, like he switched it around, shadinim makab matana, that the matana the af Ein Sarach L'Kaimo shtar. In other words, he would paskin according to Rashbam, even though our Mishnah says hamotzi mechavero olav haraya. Who's really the motzi mechaver? In other words, the din is with the donee. In other words, we paskin like the shita. It looks like Rav Meir in our Mishnah, but that's the chachamim in our Mishnah. And we don't paskin away. However, he says ulam Rabbeinu Chananel, Rif, Rambam, Smag, or Zarua, Ramban, Rashba, all pasku Raya be'edim can Rabbi Yochanan b'tchilas sugi. It doesn't switch around. Well, it's not the way we switch around Rav Meir Chacham. L'chein pasku Rabbi Yaakov, paskin like Rabbi Yaakov. That what? That. Look where the money is. Again, in our Mishnah, where the Mishnah says that we have a fight between the donor and the donee. The donee says you were healthy at the time, and the gift is final. And the donor says, no, I was a shchimera. Says, no, we go like Rabbi Yaakov, leave the money where it is. The recipient has to prove that the giver that the donor was healthy at the time. All right, and Vineri says Lashita something for Abser B'Shis Rebecca. It's like an Ikanamri where we go like the first way. In other words, all the other Rishon we go against Rashbam in this case. And even though Rashbam paskins like the way Rabbi Yochanan switched around and Moder B'Shakosfu Ein Sarach L'Kaimo, we don't hold that way. But Moder B'Shakosfu said it's still the old Sarach L'Kaimo like the Rambam and all the other Rishonim learn. Just want to point out, Michael, yesterday you asked about the case of the Tumah in the Bikkur, and he's not sure when he went in. He said, this is really a specs faker. I looked it up. He says, listen, Mishnah and Torah says like this, Kol Shati Yochel Rabbis Fakus, specs fakers, Rishus Yachal Tamei. Rishus Yachal is always Tamei, even if it's a specs faker. It's learned out from Sota, it's not a Svara. So even if it's a specs faker, and Rishus Rabbis Torah, even if it's only one suffix. It makes a difference if it's one suffix, two suffix. In this case, what happened? He went into this field. So if it's a rishus yochid in the winter time, or even after the winter, if one winter has passed, even though it's a spek. In other words, he's not sure when he went in, and even if he went in, he's not sure if it's tamei. It's a spek. It's still his tamei. Guess that's the whole. Yeah. Okay. Have a good day, everybody.
I'll find the Gemara today.